country during the entire summer preparing for this hearing. And one particular person was in charge of knowing the detail, all the significant detail of all of his voting record. And just before we started the hearing, as a matter of fact, the day of the hearing, I heard that he was having difficulty.
Clearly, cooling inflation is a good thing, folks, but it's also clear that inflation is still affecting millions of people. When the jobless levels are high, consumer spending starts to decline, lawmakers can use the stimulus as a way to pump money into the economy, to give it a lift they need it. There's also a possibility of a recession, folks, and financial experts have been warning for one for months. In the case of recession, a stimulus check could come into play. But cooling inflation may be a sign that we're going to be able to avoid a recession. If the pace of inflation continues to slow, Fed Reserve might just pump the brakes on its aggressive interest rate hikes that could make it so consumers aren't forced to slash their spending drastically. And if spending holds, well, we can possibly avoid an economic slowdown. So whether a recession happens or not, well, lawmakers have already agreed to provide more financial relief. Then now the Michigan residents with public pensions and other specific requirement accounts could soon see new tax breaks, and if this happens, it's good. The House has also approved a competing plan with key differences. The Senate measure passed by a 23-15 vote, with 3 Republicans joining 20 Democrats to support it. The House bill passed 67-41. The idea of just underlying both bills is the heart of the governor's legislative agenda. The Senate measure offers immediate relief to Michigan seniors, and according to seniors, this bill will help people live and work and retire in dignity. And Republicans argue that the bill only helped roughly a third of Michigan seniors, saying that most don't even have the eligible retirement income to work. And I agree. Multiple GOP senators attempted to just amend the Senate version of the bill. They said it's either going to happen or not. The Senate bill restores a tax exemption for public pensions, which was resumed under the 2011 governor, but initially Democrats proposed exemptions for this phase. And if that happens, it doesn't look too good because the school year median for lunch is $2.75. Things are going up and things are increasing. And between the end of crisis-related school aid and the sharp increase in food stamps, families cannot get the money they need and deserve.
Good afternoon, everyone. Please have a seat. Good afternoon. President Biden, President Clinton, members of our cabinet, members of Congress, and our fellow Americans. Nearly 30 years ago, just outside in the Rose Garden, our nation took a long overdue step to give working people, and in particular working mothers, the dignity, respect, and support they deserve. Before then, many of us will remember, working people faced often impossible choices. The choice either to take care of a loved one or keep a job. The choice either to protect one's health or protect one's livelihood. But thanks to the Family and Medical Leave Act, millions of Americans since then have been spared these false choices. Everyone here understands the importance of being able to care for the people we love. On a personal note, when I was District Attorney of San Francisco, my mother was diagnosed with cancer. And
You will only be able to pay as much as benefits as it receives in taxes. That will mean a roughly $5,000 cut in annual benefits for a typical retiree, and about $4,000 less for the average disability beneficiary. Congressional Budget Office also stated that as of right now, anyone who is 65 or older will not reach today's Social Security retirement age. That's before the age of money runs out. Also, anyone who is currently below the ages of 57 and 107 today, who is still alive and collecting benefits in 2033, will be subject to benefit cuts. It's also predicted that younger workers have the most to lose in benefits. Because if policymakers fail to act and benefit cuts begin in 2033, the Congressional Budget Office estimates that people born in 1970 will experience a 26% reduction, and those born in the 80s and 90s will receive a 27% reduction. It's preventing insolvency to tax increases. It would require an 18% tax roll. And now the Congressional Budget Office says that maintaining Social Security scheduled benefits for the next 75 years would require an immediate increase in Social Security payroll tax from 12 to 17%. This would mean $12,000 in Social Security taxes for the median household that has about $71,000 of income. Adding in Medicare and federal and state income taxes will bring the median household's marginal tax rate to 48%. And the number of Americans filing new claims for unemployment benefits increased less than expected last week, pointing to a still tight labor market, while the economy rebounded faster than previously estimated.
Have countries actually succeeded in using this language to defend their laws protecting consumers or workers or the environment?
It's quite infrequent. Less than 5% of the cases where at the WTO where regulations were challenged as illegal trade barriers were upheld under these necessary and legitimacy type tests. So it's very difficult to survive under these particular policy caveats. But as I said, I think it's going to be harder with digital because we have so little regulatory infrastructure and foundation upon which to defend the legitimacy and the necessity of the regulation. So as we're this is a world where we're just beginning to confront the concerns of this. And there are a bunch of laws being considered in Congress that would affect things like digital privacy and monopolistic platform practices that could run afoul of these digital trade rules. I would add on the privacy issues, the language in the USMCA specifically says it must be necessary and proportionate to the risk, which is sort of an even higher threshold to defend future privacy rules. So all of this, look, there's a good reason to consider protecting privacy and protecting the data that is behind privacy for things, as have been said on this panel already, on things like biometrics, on health data, on financial data. There are good reasons to exclude those kinds of personal data from the digital, from the free flow of data and data localization. And there are good reasons to exclude things like critical infrastructure, has also been said today. So I think thinking about exceptions to these data provisions is essential going forwards.
Okay, so thank you. It's a very, very powerful point you make. We're barely at 5% success rate on trying to enforce the exceptions, and you're saying it would be even worse under the conditions if we go forward in the digital area here. You know, it is not a surprise that big tech is trying to weaponize digital trade rules. They know that the U.S. Congress is now considering bipartisan legislation to try to rein in big tech. So this is a move to fight back. And let's be blunt, big tech has a lot of friends. I've raised concerns about the revolving door between big